Welcome to Inside the Majors, the Silver Edition. This episode will be interviewing both the winners from the Sports Silver divisions from this year's Major Series. Both are extremely close, going to the last race and decided by some of the smallest margins we've ever seen. So it was great to hear how their seasons unfolded. Apologies for the slight delay in getting this episode out. We try and do one every 2 weeks, but real life has got in the way of late. But I'm sure you all found other things to do in the meantime without me. Hopefully we'll get back to one about every 2 weeks from here on in. We're less than 2 weeks away now from the Sudspeed Blackout. So pre-queue will be starting in just a few days. We've got around 2 splits worth of early entries, and we're anticipating plenty more sign-ups as race week gets closer. So if you haven't yet, get your teams together and registered. It's super value, that's for sure. And if you already have, spread the word throughout your iRacing community so we can make this event as big as possible. It always means better racing if there's more of a field at the same speed. Finally, for those who qualify for the Iron Warrior event on Saturday, have fun and enjoy beating the crap out of each other in the annual Demo Derby. Okay, first up, let's head over to the Atlantic Division for a chat with our 2024 Silver Champion. Hi everyone, just interrupting myself here for a minute to remind all Major Series and MEC members that our fantastic partners over at Sudspeed are offering anyone using the code MAJORS not only a 10% discount on anything from their range of sim racing gloves, socks and shirts, but they'll also be donating a further 10% of all sales under that code back to Major Series charities for 2025. So it's a win-win for you and our charities. Jump on over to sudspeed.com and check out their gear, especially the new range of glove designs recently released, as well as now stocking XXL gloves, which for the larger sim racer like myself, it's a great addition and one that I'm already enjoying. Remember the code MAJORS at checkout and enjoy getting your hands into some Sudspeed mittens. Sim racing gloves for sim racers, by sim racers. Now, back to the podcast. First up with us today, Tom Dreiling, who took out the Silver Division in the Atlantic region this year. Tom started with majors way back in 2015 and is actually number 4 in the all-time list for starts with the Major Series. If my reading of the stats is correct, he's only missed 2 races since 2016. Across those 124 starts, Tom has 1 win, which he took out last year, which we'll ask him a little bit about shortly. The reason for being on this edition of the podcast, of course, is taking out the Silver Division for Atlantic by the whopping margin of 13 points from second place and was actually only 16 points ahead of third. So it was a super tight race for the year. Congratulations, Tom, on managing to take out the division this year. Can you tell us a little bit about what you think the highlights of the season might have been for you?
I'd say for me, the highlight had to have been the Indy 500. I felt I did really good. I had a chance at the end to maybe even win it, but I had some mechanical issues on my side that kind of ruined that race for me.
I believe the Daytona 500 was pretty close for you running at the front there at the end as well in the craziness and the mix of the last corner. So would you consider yourself an oval guy with the results that you've had on ovals this year?
Yeah, I'd consider myself more of oval than road. I'm trying to get better and better at the road side. But yeah, I'd consider myself mostly oval.
How did you go about constructing the run of the championship? Was it something that you were focused on from the very beginning or just sort of something that you found yourself involved in?
I would say about halfway through the season, me and my team decided I have a chance to go for the championship. And then we really worked on from race to try to get it.
You said with the team, are you with Grizzly TFR? How did you come to be part of that team?
I've been with a couple teams for a while just because I've been with majors for so long. I got with a couple guys from Grizzly and we've just worked together quite well. We get along at the races and off the races pretty well.
Can you remember what brought you to the Major Series all the way back in 2015?
What brought me to the majors back then, it was just called the Pacific Majors. The first race was a 2.4 hours of Daytona on the road course. I always loved that track, wanted to run it. And then I saw that there was multiple tracks with different kinds of cars. And I thought that'd be so interesting and so much fun to get a different taste of everything to see what you could run fastest at.
Daytona 2.4 making its return in the next round of the Major Series in January, as it turns out. So what do you enjoy most about the series?
I enjoy the different combinations. You don't know from race to race to race who's going to be super strong at a different track. So it's so much fun, so interesting, and it makes me feel like I'm getting better from track to track to track.
I mentioned in the intro you had 1 win in the Major Series. Tell us what it meant to you after so many years to finally get that win last year.
It felt really good. I've been close a few times, of course, on the ovals. I've been close at Daytona at Indy on a few tracks and also a couple times at the Daytona Road Course. Finished, I think, second twice at different Daytona 2.4s. So hoping that we can go back again because now we get to do it again next year, and I can't wait.
Um, what are your main interests out in sim racing outside of the majors?
So I mostly run like NIS because I like the longer races and I'm very NASCAR centric. I've been going to short track since I was a little kid. So ovals and NASCAR have been in my blood. So I run NIS a lot. There's a couple of leagues that I dabble from here and there, mostly NASCAR ovals.
And have you ever done any real world racing?
I have not. The closest I've gotten is I've crew chiefed on a couple local race cars. That was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I couldn't fit the bill to jump in a real car.
Yeah, sure. I think that's why a lot of us are here, right? Because whether it's time, money, or talent, in my case, getting into real world racing is just not really an option. Did you race in the majors 24 with your team this year?
We did. Unfortunately, we did crash about 12 hours in. We had major damage and it just wasn't in the cards. So we'll be doing the major 24 again next year.
Obviously, we'll see you back in the major series next year. What would you like to set as a goal, or what do you think you would set as your aim for majors in 2025, having taken out the silver division?
Next year, my plan is actually I'm going to run both the Pacific Division or Americas Division and the European Division. I'm going to run both of them for the full season. I'm hoping top 10 in points overall would be a goal on mine on either one of those.
That's a pretty big commitment. How does that work with your, I suppose, real life commitments? You know, is there some compromise having to be made with family or work or so forth to be able to run the two regions?
Luckily at work, I work weekdays, so it leaves me open on the weekends to run those races. Just when I get home running the laps, sometimes that gets a little tricky. Unfortunately, this year, reason that I missed one of the races was I had to work late on a Saturday night and I forgot to set the alarm. I've only missed 2 races in all my career on the majors and I enjoy every second that Mike has put up this and it's been so much fun.
If there was anything you could change about the major series, what little tweaks do you think you might want to make if you had Mike's magic wand for a day?
Well, for me personally, I'm not great at qualifying. That is my worst part, I would say, is trying to do the one fast lap. I'm better at racecraft and running a race instead of burning off one fast lap. So if there was a way to do like qualifying race, but I understand in most of the major races we can't do that, but in the ones that we can, it's a lot helpful for me.
Or will you be doing any of the team events next year with us in the MEC and potentially Blackout here in a couple of weeks?
So I will be running the Blackout and MEC, but I'm going to run with a different team for that, bringing my buddies from iRacers Lounge, and we're going to run those races.
Tell us a little bit about iRacers Lounge and what you do over there.
So that's a bunch of guys who've been doing a podcast for many years. Every once in a while, I jump on the podcast when I can. Fortunately, we schedule it on a Thursday, and I help out with setups and everything, and we all run together in the NASCAR leagues that we run in and NIS.
So when everyone's finished listening to Inside the Majors, something else to go and have a listen to because I know that there's a lot of different iRacing focused podcasts that are out there, some better than others. But yeah, I think they're all worth having a listen to see what's going on in this community that we're all part of. So yeah, give that one a listen. I'll give that one a listen as well. See what that's all about.
Oh yeah, and listening to different podcasts and hearing everybody's little side because some people are more NASCAR side, some people are more road side, some people are just an everything, and it works great for everything just to learn more.
Certainly does, especially anything that you can learn about setups around ovals, which I have no idea about whatsoever. It's a black art to me. I just don't understand. Learning things like that from people that have the experiences is a really good way of increasing your knowledge base around this thing that we all enjoy doing so much. Thanks for sharing something for us to have another listen to there, Tom. And congratulations again on the super season that you had this year. I'm sure that it was pretty tense there in the last week or in the last round with everything being so close to the points, but you got the job done. So well done, and we look forward to seeing how things keep going for you next year.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the last race was actually even more stressful. I feel bad for Mike G not putting in a correct setup and running out of fuel, because he was super fast in the F1 cars.
Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate your time.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Our second interview for this episode is with the Pacific Region Silver Division winner, Jake Fox. Jake started with majors in 2018, running the international region until shifting to Pacific last year. He's amassed 76 starts for 2 wins, one in his first year and then a second one last year. The winning margin for Jake's championship success this year was just 27 points and went down to the final race with several contenders still hunting him down in that race. Jake, firstly, congratulations on the title success this season. Tell us, what was the highlight of the year for you?
Making the top split of the auto club and fighting up the front until some bad luck happened and I got the penalty.
Did you go into the year with a focus on the championship from the beginning? Or did that happen later in the season as things fell into place?
No, I just go in with, just do the best I can and hope things pan out. And, luck obviously plays a huge part, but no, not really. I mean, I finished 5th last year and I knew I'd be sort of up, hopefully up the top end again because a few guys didn't turn up that competed last year. So I didn't really go into it until one day I looked at the points and went, holy shit, I can't believe where I'm sitting. So, yeah.
The final race was pretty open in terms of championship contenders. How did it pan out for you through the knockout qualifying in the F1s and then in the race itself?
Basically, my goal was to make top split. I knew I had the pace. I just made top split. I finished 20th in the Q3. I knew if I made top split that the pressure was on both Bryce and Joseph. I had that 20-point lead and I'd already been calculating the points and working out where they needed to finish and where I needed to finish. So I knew if I made top split, the pressure was on them. That was my goal.
And were there any hairy moments in the race that had you concerned?
Once I was behind Bryce, who I was battling, him and Joe were both second equal. And I was behind Bryce. I was just taking it easy. And then Bryce spun in front of me. And then later on, as I'm catching Bryce and I went for a pass, I wasn't sure if he was letting me pass or not. And then I nearly hit the wall and, nearly took out Bryce and myself. Apart from that, no other hairy moments. I just took it very easy, to be honest. And it seemed to pay off. Actually, finished 13th.
Yeah, 13th and job done. Well done.
Well, I was disappointed too because I felt sorry for Joseph because I knew he had a 0 drop week like myself. And, I saw him disconnect real early on. So, I felt bad for him because that knocked him way down the standing, being second equal to, I think he finished like 9th or 10th or something. So that was a bummer for him. But, happy days for me.
Yeah. I mentioned you had 2 wins in the major series in the intro. Tell us about what you remember of the first win all the way back in 2018.
That, if anything, that's one of my biggest highlights of my whole iRacing career over the last 10, 11 years. And that was taking the tyres where no one else did with about 10 laps to go. Because I knew that with 10 laps to go, I'd get shuffled back up in front and past all the lap cars. So I pitted from 3rd, I think, and I come back in 6th. And then that had a massive draft on the last lap and took it 3 wide going into turn 1 and got them both. So, and then they ended up wrecking behind me and had the win. And I was stoked. I was screaming I had a spotter and I was screaming. We were yelling. I was stoked because I was actually a pro then too. So my only win in pro way back then. So very happy.
And another win last season as well. How did it feel to revisit victory lane again after so many years?
It was good, but at the same time, it wasn't as good as the other one because it wasn't a great battle all the way to the end. I think I was running in fifth, and then a couple of guys lost it at sunset at Sebring. The race was lost it at sunset, and ended up taking the lead and kept my cool. Basically, had one of my best races I had. No mishaps, no off. I had one off track, I think, the whole race. Just nailed my mark. I love Sebring, so that really helped. Ended up winning by over 30 seconds, I think. In that regard, I'd rather finish last, but have a great battle through the whole race versus winning by a dominant margin, if you know what I mean. That's where the fun's at, having great battles.
Can you remember what brought you to majors all the way back in 2018?
Oh, well, lots of people remember this name, but the great John King, being friends with Mike, I was quite a while before the majors started up for international, but he said it was happening, and pretty much a whole lot of the team jumped on board, and yeah, that's what got me into it. I actually loved, the whole concept of learning and practicing different cars, different tracks each week. Some of them were my wheels, some definitely not. So yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
One thing people may not know is that your role with the competition committee, you've largely been the lead adjudicator for protests for the last season or two. What's been some of the more interesting things you've had to adjudicate on over the time?
Look, honestly, some people I'm just going to say this, sorry if I offend anyone out there, but some people are just muppets. The absolute shit they sent in, they didn't look at it properly, or they were angry when they sent it in and went, I'm just going to do this for the hell of it. Because there's no way a protestable thing. It was just a racing incident. But yeah, and the other ones where people actually put a protest in against someone else and ended up getting protested themselves because of it. That's what I found quite amusing.
And what are your thoughts on the introduction of live stewarding for next year in the major series?
My honest opinion is it's good and bad. For the simple fact, whoever's doing the live admitting don't have much time to look at it, so you've got to make a pretty good decision. If someone appeals it, you have to look at the appeal, which can, got to confer with whoever else is looking at it as well, and make sure you're both on the same page. But yeah, then you just have to deal with the penalty. Whereas with the protests, you get the demerits, and you just have to, got to be wary you don't get so many demerits to get the miss race. You've got to keep your nose clean. Where with these live admins, you just take the penalty right then and there. So yeah, I'm 50-50 either way, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the plan for next year is some sort of hybrid of both, where obviously there'll be in-race penalties so that there's an instant repercussion for something that you've caused.
Yeah.
But also there'll be an ongoing, whether it's a tally system or point system similar to what we've had, so that repeat offenders obviously can then have further sanctions outside of the individual races. But we'll see how it all evolves.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good introduction. I think a lot of people like it, versus a lot of people were complaining about the protest system. So no, we'll see how it pans out. Great introduction, early days, but yeah, see what people have to say in the end of the year or something about it.
Yeah, one of the things I think is the strength of majors evolves to meet the customer demand, as shown by the calendar that's been put out there for 2025. So outside of majors, what are your interests within sim racing, and what sort of other things do you get yourself involved in?
With sim racing, I don't really have any other interests outside of majors. I used to do officials, but sort of got over it. And with I was unemployed, so I'm now been working this whole last year. So that's definitely put a bit of a spanner in the works too for putting the effort into doing official stuff. But for majors, you race with the same people each week, get to know who's good to be around, who's a bit dodgy, versus officials where you just take it that everyone's dodgy. And looking at a lot of the YouTube videos and that seems to be the case. So yeah, no, I don't really. Indy 500, I always put my hand up for. So that's about it, really. And the odd team endurance event.
Have you ever done any real world racing back in the day?
Never had the finances, never showed any interest in it. I liked, going to the speedway and stuff like that. But no, never, I was never really a big race car driver until, I guess, PlayStation, and probably like a lot of people discovered the original Gran Turismo. And then, yeah, just sort of progressed from there, got a PC and got into TOCA touring cars, and then TOCA 3 and stuff like that, and found I wasn't too bad. But I used to probably do what everyone else did and just go hard out into the corner and use the other cars to help me brake and make the corner. So
iRacing officials are just a natural fit for that then?
yeah, apart from the damage model, yeah.
Yeah. So outside of the sim racing world, what sort of forms of motorsport do you enjoy watching on television or going to see?
I used to enjoy NASCAR, but probably like a lot of other people, they ruined it with the stupid stages. The race doesn't start till the last. So what's the point of having the stages? But yeah, I was always trying to watch the IndyCar. You know, being a Kiwi, I got Scott Dixon and now Scott McLaughlin in there as well. So it's looking good for us there. And, both very competitive.
IndyCar seems to be the go-to spot for New Zealand top end races at the moment. But although you got Lawson in F1, so
Yeah,
a bit goes on there as well.
and Gisbergen and NASCAR doing pretty well.
Certainly a country that punches above its weight in terms of population versus number of people at the top end of motorsport. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I think we can. A lot of it can go down to Bruce McLaren and stuff like that way back in the day.
Actually, I saw a good debate it was last week or the week before. I think it might have been from Liam Lawson as well, actually. Why don't they play the New Zealand national anthem whenever McLaren wins a race in Formula One?
I honestly can't tell you, but yeah, it would be nice. Well, it probably wouldn't be that nice because we've got a pretty pathetic anthem.
I quite like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. I like the idea of it being sung in both languages, but yeah, anyway. All right, back to majors. Coming into 2025, I'm assuming we'll be seeing you back again next year, but what region do you think you'll be running?
Oh, international because of the other two will be Mondays now. So I definitely can't do them, which is a shame because I didn't mind doing Pacific, to be honest. I thought it'd be very tough, and it was quite tough, but a lot of good people and a lot of good racing. So, yeah, I'm happy to go back to international. It should take off, and I'll get to see a lot of old friends and acquaintances, so to speak, and some people that I used to get on with but probably don't anymore. So, see how that pans out as well.
The last thing I'll ask you about is the team that you're part of, Kingsman. Quite a close-knit group, and I've run into Kingsman in all sorts of series, not just majors, but some other team series as well. Tell us a bit about how that team came about and how you joined up.
Right, so way back in the day when I first started, I met John King. I raced against John King, and he sent me a message afterwards and goes, "Hey, I like the way you handled yourself. You kept me on my toes because we were both racing Kia." And he goes, "Here, come and check out the team, Blackadder." And for like a month, I was like, "Holy shit, never been on a team before. What's expected of me? And I've got to meet all these new people." But I finally took the leap, and Blackadder grew to like over 100 people, mate. It was huge, and that's when we ended up. It became too big for our boots, I guess you'd say. So we left that and formed Kinetic, which became a very well-known team in the majors. And then unfortunately, a few years ago, John was diagnosed with brain cancer and passed away 6 months after diagnosis. So I tried to do my best, and I started taking over leadership role, me and Mark, but it was more myself, I'd have to say, of the Kinetic. And then eventually it just got to the stage where I thought, screw it, time for me to do my own thing. And I started up Kingsman. Of course, as many people can probably guess, we are Kingsmen because of John King. So quite a few of us were from Blackadder and Kinetic. So that's why I picked the name Kingsman. That's what a lot of us were.
Yeah, it's great to see that the name keeps going. And I came to majors
100%.
after. Yeah, I came to majors after John had already departed.
Yep.
Which the more I've heard, the more that's a real shame. Would have liked to have known the man. But yeah,
Awesome guy. I wish I could have been half the person he is. John used to do things behind the scenes where he'd talk to Mark Stevenson back in the day when it was Forge and help get the team up and running or know what to do to run a team and stuff like that. So, yeah, lots of things. He was helping lots out. I wish I could be half that man, but I don't have the knowledge that John did because John was a real life racer as well. So, and brain teacher.
yeah. Well, for those that do him, I can certainly feel that he's very much missed by the series. Look, again, as I said at the very beginning, congrats on the season win in the silver division. Let's see whether that gets you back into the pro ranks as you used to be.
I've been told that I am pro next year.
Well,
That's just going to be interesting.
Pressure's on to go back to back then. So yeah, hope you get plenty of.
Hell no.
I hope you get plenty of time over the Christmas break to get some testing in, buddy. Look, congratulations on 2024. Certainly
you,
enjoy that before we roll into 2025. And yeah, I look forward to sharing the racetrack with you in international in 2025.
If you don't mind, there's just a few people I'd like to give a shout out to.
Absolutely.
Bryce Roberts and Joseph Homan for having a great battle all the way to the last race. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. A lot of fun. And to a few of my guys, Adam Johnson, he won Sports Bronze division in Pacific. That was another big up for us. Phil Otto, he's always been a great teammate. And a few of the other guys, and just to Magnetic team in general. And to the competition committee and Mike, of course, for putting on a great season, doing a great job, and dealing with the stress, the millions of questions that get asked over and over again, even though they were posted like 3 posts above. So, yeah, that's keeping you cool in that regard as well. Is a great effort. So, yeah, and thanks to everyone for participating in the majors. It's a great series. Tell your friends, tell your family, get involved. If you're not already, come join us. Lots of fun. Great people. One other person I want to give a shout out to, and that's to Austin O'Neill. Mate, if you're listening, you had it in the bag. 6 races and you already had a 200-point lead. It's just a shame. I don't know what happened, but I just want to thank you for bowing out because you gave me the opportunity to win. You had it sealed up, brother. So next year, hopefully we'll see you back, Austin, and yeah, good luck.
Well said. Congratulations again, buddy, and thanks for having a chat on Inside the Majors.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it, brother.